Hi guys, the entire debate over immigration and asylum just seems to get worse and worse. I frankly don't know if right-wingers are trying to outdo each other with the most stupidest response possible, or they actually think what they say is a solution that will somehow work. Journalist JJ Anisiobi appeared on the Concrete Farmers show, where he said that if Rishi Sunak had more balls, he would impose sanctions on France and on Libya. Oh my God, have a listen to this.
I think, but there's not one solution. But I think if he had more balls, I'm going to get in trouble for saying that, whatever. If he had more balls, Sunak, he'd be going to Europe and saying to Macron, and he'd be going to Libya and saying, if you let these people come in their dinghies, we're going to put sanctions on you from now on.
Sanctions. Okay, what form would these sanctions take? Are they political sanctions? Are they economic sanctions? Are they trade sanctions? What sort of sanctions are you talking about? I don't know if he understands himself what sort of sanctions he's talking about. But let's say for the sake of argument, the UK government decides to impose sanctions on France and Libya. Libya got a mention here. So what would be the purpose here? To stop Libya, the Libyan government, from allowing people to leave the country. Because that's basically what's happening here. People are leaving Libya, arriving in Italy, Greece, wherever, and then eventually traveling up through Europe to Calais and then crossing over into Britain in some cases. The majority stay in Europe, but a small minority do travel all the way to Britain. So Rishi Sunak would impose sanctions on Libya until they did what? They stopped people from leaving. How many people? Is there a quota? Is it means nobody's allowed to leave and then the sanctions will be lifted? And what's to stop? Okay, well then let's move on to France. The same case. You're going to impose some sort of sanctions, don't know if they're political, economic, trade, whatever, on France. And what's to stop France from doing the same to Britain? Oh, you want to impose sanctions on us? Well, then we're going to impose sanctions on you. And actually, we're going to ask our friends in the EU, who are a bit more powerful than France on its own, to impose sanctions on you too. And who is the EU going to listen to? Is it going to listen to Britain, who's complaining about a few refugees and asylum seekers, or France, a member state, a significant sized member state? Okay, so who's going to win out on these sanctions? It's nonsense. So once again, the sanctions would be to impose upon France to stop people from crossing the channel. At the moment, the UK government is paying France some money to stop people from crossing. So this would be the opposite. Well, we're not going to actually pay you money. We're going to try and punish you in some way. And we're hoping that you don't try and punish us in return.
The problem is people coming from France and from Libya. You need to stop them there. Let them come to the UK and then put them in hotels.
Well, I mean,
we're just going to keep on paying for hotels.
They're going to keep coming.
They're going to keep
on
on
the
coming.
Rwanda policy scheme, it was ludicrous in the beginning because we have territories that we could send them to that we wouldn't have to be dependent on the Rwandan government guaranteeing their safety, for example. Why didn't we do that? Why did we send them to, like, I don't know, Ascension Island or something?
Ascension Island? No, not this one again. We covered this before. It's a ridiculous position to take. Send them to Ascension. It's thousands of miles away. There are no resources there. You'd actually have to send people and build a little town for people to live in who would build the infrastructure. And it would cost billions because it's currently being used as a military base. There's only soldiers there. The only humans are soldiers. So you'd actually have to build the infrastructure. You'd have to ship in food and other resources for the people who would be living there. And we're talking about not, a few hundred people. At the moment, I think it's about 800 people live on the island. Under whatever scheme the Tories would be coming up with, you'd be talking about tens of thousands of perhaps of people living there. The island couldn't hold that, couldn't deal with that. And it would cost billions. Nonsensical. But also this point of, why is it always about sending people far away instead of actually processing the claims in Britain? Like, if people are in Britain, you can control the situation. If people are thousands of miles away, you have less control.
That we have control over. It doesn't even make sense.
But then we still have to be paying for infrastructure on those
Yeah,
islands.
but the thing is,
Also,
we get to
Ascension
live with that
Island
because
isn't
if we're paying the
an option.
Rwandan government,
Ascension Island is not
you know,
an
they're
option
going to
either.
choose how to build, you know, the cost of building their accommodation and all the sort of luxuries that come with them staying
but you
there.
see,
We
you're
get
all
to
getting it
decide
wrong.
that.
No, but you're all getting it wrong. It's not about what we do with them when they get here. It's about stopping them from coming.
You can't stop people who are determined to arrive in the country. Like, I've been over this a number of times. What do you want the French government to do? To arrest people? The Libyan government the same. Arrest people, put them in prison for committing what crime? It's not a crime to leave France. It's not a crime to leave Libya. You'd want the French and Libyan governments to create new legislation to suit you know, a few gammons on GB News or Talk TV or whatever. Is that what you want? A few racists and bigots in Britain are upset about asylum seekers. Please, France and Libya, can you create legislation to suit these people? To make it illegal for people to leave the country? It's nonsensical. But also, you know, they mentioned the cost. It's too expensive. It's too expensive to put people in hotels. Well, you know what's cheaper? To actually process the claims. If they process the claims, they will be able to move people out of these hotels. And actually you'd have an added bonus because then those people would move on to refugee status if they're successful. And then they could contribute. They would pay taxes. They would become taxpayers. Why do the right wing hate taxpayers? Why do they hate the economy? Why do they want people to stay on benefits, or not even benefits, a pittance? Why do they not want these people to work? Why do they not want them to contribute to the exchequer? They keep complaining about the cost, but then as soon as you say, well, let's have these people work, they say, no, we don't want that. We don't want them having some sort of money to live off, but at the same time, we don't want them to work either, because they might steal jobs or something. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.